Hi there. This is a homily for the 30th Sunday of the year, and continuing the theme that we heard about last week, we're learning much more about the fact that we are all interconnected, whether we like it or not, understand it or not, or just are aware of it or not. The point of the matter is that as far as our existence and being is concerned, we are all connected with everybody else and everything else on the planet. And so when we hear these readings from Exodus, this would be after the presentation of the commandments. What you have here are two instructions. First of all, not to molest or oppress an alien. The people who hear this are reminded that you were once yourselves aliens. And in fact, everybody in this country, going back far enough, was an alien. If we molest them, then my wrath will rise up and I will kill you, says God. It's as simple as that. The whole point is there are people who are very much marginalized, underprivileged, or whatever, and they are part of our being as human beings. And if we want to truly live as human beings and not just as robots running around vacuuming the floor, then we are deeply conscious of every single person who is around us and their situation and their needs. And what makes us more deeply human is that we're concerned about that. We want to help them in some way. Maybe all we need to do is empathize with them in their situation. Other times it may need concrete support, whatever it requires. The other thing is if you lend money to one of your poor neighbors among my people, once again, the poor is the emphatic word here, and here you have somebody literally being told, you can't act like an extortioner towards him. That would be a good lesson in today's society. And then if you take someone's cloak, give it to him before sunset. If he cries out to me, I will hear him. That's God again. In other words, God is trying to teach us not to be the raging individuals that our culture wants us to be. Now, this is all strengthened and supported by the responsorial psalm, which has the antiphon, I love you, Lord, my strength. Now, we can take this in two ways. We can take this as the Lord already deeply bonded to us because we're being kept alive and we're being loved and supported and cared for in a million ways that we will only be aware of when we meet the Lord himself. But we are in a very privileged position because we are tied to the Lord in this glorious way. Consequently, he is our strength. When I am helping somebody, caring for somebody, empathizing with somebody, I am not being weak. I am living from the strength of my relationship. And I'm not losing in the process because I'm doing exactly what the Lord himself does. Remember the last word from the first reading, I am compassionate. And that has massive meanings. It's not just when it's convenient for me to be compassionate. When I have excess money or food or whatever, then I think about somebody who's less privileged than myself. The Lord lives, says the psalmist, and blessed be my rock. Extolled be God my Savior. The psalmist is celebrating the fact that he is already cared for and loved in a way that a lot of people would envy. Consequently, as we heard in the first reading, we have responsibilities on our shoulders. Now, the next reading, 1 Thessalonians, is Paul writing to the little Thessalonian community, and he praises them first of all. From you the word has sounded forth, not only in Macedonia and Achaia. What he's celebrating is how the reputation, and this is the good reputation of the Thessalonian Christian community, is echoing back to him in his travels, because the message, the charity, the empathy, the community, all values we've heard about already, are all being exercised in Thessalonica and consequently impressing the dickens out of people. Consequently, he can celebrate how you turn to God from idols to serve the living and true God, and so on and so on. Next, in the Gospel, you have Jesus essentially teaching the Sadducees and the Pharisees about the first two commandments, something that they should have known about in detail anyway, because these were the experts in the law. But he reminds them, and you can hear the echoes already of the first reading from Exodus, that when they say which commandment in the law is the greatest, he says you shall love the Lord your God, in other words, the first commandment. The second, love your neighbor as yourself. And he says these two are the foundation of the whole law and the prophets. In other words, what he's doing is summing up this relationship which we already have with God, such that he loves us in amazing ways, supports us in amazing ways. Consequently, we should be loving God if we're not selfish, mean, nasty people. Then we should be loving God in just sheer gratitude for what God has done for us. And, as I said from the Psalm, if we are indeed know that we are loved in this way, then how can we not love our neighbor? And the loving of neighbor is, again, a very general word. It's everybody. And in fact, when Jesus explains the word neighbor, he gives us the parable of the Good Samaritan. So in other words, a chance meeting by the Samaritan on this victim of robbery is exactly the chance meeting that will show that the Samaritan knows that he is so loved by God that of course he's going to help this victim of the mugging, even to the extent of taking him to an inn, paying for his care, and so forth. There's a whole richness and beneficence, magnanimity here in the life of the Christian that Exodus tried to explain it in one way and Jesus explains in yet another way. Let us go into the week with that message in our hearts. Thank you.